Welcome to the PWHT podcast, the show dedicated to helping hockey families navigate the journey of off-ice training and preparation. I'm Dr. Zach Rourke, founder of PWHT, and I'm here to answer your questions and provide actionable tips to help you reach your potential. Each episode is going to be bite-sized, just 10 to 15 minutes, and packed with information that you can start using today. As always, if you have a question that you want answered, reach out to us via Instagram at PWHTMN. On today's episode, we're going to talk about maintaining explosivity throughout the season. Every hockey player knows that a key to their success is being explosive on the ice throughout the course of the season, especially near the end. After listening today, you'll know the best strategies to stay explosive all season long. Okay, so like we always try to, we're going to start off with the actionable tip. And here's the tip for maintaining explosivity. Instead of training your way out of a decline in explosivity, manage your way out. And we'll talk about what that means. Let me explain. First, what causes your lack of explosivity? So you did all your training in the off season, you're playing your games in the in season, and now you're starting to slow down. Well, there's two possible causes of losing that first step explosivity. And the first one is not training enough. Okay, so if I don't do enough training, then I will lose my explosivity. The second one is training too much, right? Now, what hockey players do a lot of time in season is, even though they're practicing all the time and they're playing all the time, they're not in the gym working out, and so they don't give themselves credit for the training that they're doing. And so they actually think that they're not training enough, when in reality, they're probably training too much. The schedules that we have for a hockey in season are more often than not more than you can recover from on a week-to-week basis. So instead of trying to train yourself out of the lack of first step, what we want to do is we want to manage your season, manage your exposures so that you never actually lose that first step. And if you do lose it, so that you can get it back. So the main assumption here is that the cause for most of our hockey athletes' lack of explosivity during the in-season, like I said before, is that they're doing too much, okay? And that's true 95% of the time. All right, so instead of just taking my word for it though, let's think of a practical way that you can determine if the cause of your lack of explosivity is overtraining or undertraining. And what would be even better is to go through this practice here before you lose your step, so that you never do, okay? So what we do is we just take out a sheet of paper and we write down Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we do that twice, right? Because I want to look at your last 2 weeks. And you go through your last 2 weeks, and for each day, you just write down any skates, any practices, any workouts that you did on those days. Once you go through that, for each day, you add up just the number of exposures that you had. So if you had practice and then a workout and a game, that's 3 exposures. All of those were on Sunday, right? And then on Monday, you had practice, that's 1 exposure. And then on Tuesday, you had a practice and a workout, that's 2 exposures. So add those all up so that you know how many you did on each day. And then for each week, add up the total for that week. So Sunday through Saturday, you get a total, and then the next week, Sunday through Saturday, you get a total. And you know, if you've been paying attention to kind of how we run things here, we're going to compare this to our golden rule. And our golden rule says that you get 8 to 10 exposures in a week, and you get 2 in a day, okay? So now look at your week and compare it to that rule. If you're consistently breaking either of those 2 aspects of the rule, 8 to 10 exposures in a week, or you're consistently breaking 2 in a day, then you are contributing to your overall fatigue. And we're going to expect, if you continue to do that week over week throughout the season, we're going to expect that you're going to lose your explosive power, because the first system that fatigues is your central nervous system, and your central nervous system is primarily responsible for your explosive power, okay? So you walk through that exercise, and then there's one extra thing that you need to take into account, and that is outside stresses. Okay, so, well, one thing to note first, we're gonna add up all your hockey exposures. So hockey practice, hockey game, hockey workout. If you're playing other sports, those count as exposures too. So if you have a lacrosse practice or a lacrosse workout or a basketball game or whatever it is that you're doing, you have to count all of those in your exposures. And then on top of that, we're gonna look for like big external stresses that are outside of sports. Those are going to be things like it's finals week, or my girlfriend just dumped me, or my boyfriend just dumped me, or something like that. Things that are big stresses. A lot of times for our high school athletes, those come from school, and those come from relationships, and that could just be a relationship with a friend. You got into a fight, whatever it might be. As strange as it sounds, those are often, especially if they're left unresolved, those are often the source of the extra stress that puts you over the edge and that keeps you from being able to recover well. So if you find that you have too many exposures, what that's really telling us is that you have more stress than you can recover from. And what you have to do is you have to reduce exposures. There's really no other way around it. And everybody wants to do more and keep up with the Joneses and all that kind of thing. But if you have too many exposures, you can't recover from it. It's gonna catch up with you at some point. And so what we want to do is be proactive and manage our week based on this golden rule setup. Okay, so you've gone through that practice, and a typical high school schedule is going to be like 6 to 8 exposures on ice between practices and games, which means that you'll have 2 to 4 exposures left over. And depending on the week, what you can do is you can use maybe 1 to 3 of those exposures to work on your explosive sort of training, right? The difference between off season and in season is that in the in season, you want to have much smaller off ice workout exposures. So I'll give you an example from the NHL. With my NHL players, we have a pretty similar training load. It's a little bit higher. They play a few more games a week typically than high school kids do. And they have a couple more skates a week. So maybe we're looking at like 7 to 9 exposures on ice. Although their practice loads, depending on the team, are usually quite a bit lower. They're less intense compared to like a high school practice, which is a weird thing to say, but that's kind of how it runs. So what we do in the NHL with the guys that I work with is we try to squeeze in like 1 to 3 workouts per week. And those workouts are going to be 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll actually do them right after a game. And the idea behind that is, you're already getting fatigued from that game. The stresses in the workout are going to be similar in some ways to the game. And so I kind of think of it as, instead of it being a second exposure, it's almost like taking your game, which is 1 exposure, and then adding like a half exposure. So it's like 1.5 exposures. And your body will recover from those exposures all being done at the same time better than if we did the workout the next day. So it's like 2 to 3 workouts that are 20 to 30 minutes, and we do them right after the game. Now, at the high school level, a lot of times it's hard to do that because you just don't have the equipment, you don't have the training space, that kind of thing after a game. Maybe you don't have time or ride or whatever it is. But you can use kind of the same principles. And so at the high school level, what we're gonna try to look at is like 1 to 3 workouts that are focused on explosivity a week. And the structure of those workouts is gonna be different than an in-season workout. In season, you're looking at 60-minute workouts. You're looking at 3 or 4 major training blocks. You're looking at 10 to 12 exercises, 3 sets, variety of different rep ranges. In season, what I recommend is you're looking at 3 to 4 exercises for your workout, 3 to 4 major exercises. And these are gonna be power-based exercises, so the weights are gonna be relatively low, and the velocities are gonna be as high as possible. You wanna be moving as fast as you can. These should be lower body or full body rotation exercises. Those are the exercises that are gonna transfer the best to your hockey performance. And then you're not gonna do a lot of them. You're going to do 2 sets of each exercise, and you're going to do 6 to 8 reps. And you're going to allow for complete rest between each set. So like you can think of that as 3 minutes, somewhere around the 3-minute range between sets. Now I like to mix in some secondary exercises during that rest time, and I actually have a whole podcast coming up soon on what exercises you should be doing, where we'll talk more about that. But that's kind of the layout for what you want your workouts to look like, and no more than 30 to 40 minutes, including the warm-up, okay? So to summarize, you feel like you're losing your first step during mid-season, 2/3 of the way through the season. Most athletes, their brain goes to, I haven't been in the gym, I got to get back in the gym and work harder. But if we look at the roots of what's actually causing you to slow down, what we'll probably find is that for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe 6, 8, 10 weeks, you've been overtraining. And the reason that you're slowing down is because of that overtraining. So if you find yourself in that position, instead of trying to train your way out of it, let's manage your way out of it. And to manage your way out of it, you have to probably reduce your training load, okay? A better solution to this whole problem is before you get to the point where you lose that first step, let's start managing your season so that we never get to overtraining and we never start to lose that explosive step. And the best way to do that is look through your schedule, see how many exposures you have per week, and make cuts, okay? And I know it's a hard thing to do as a kid, as a parent. You want to train more, you already paid for the thing, whatever it is. But the purpose of all of your training is supposed to make you better. And so if you do training and it makes you worse, then you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and it's not doing what you want it to do anyway. So you have to make those cuts. Okay, so manage your way out of any decline in explosivity. Manage your way to keep from losing explosivity. Don't try to train your way out of this, because too much of a good thing can turn into a bad thing. All right, that's what I have for you today. If you're looking to learn more about how you can achieve your hockey goals, visit us at perfectworldhockey.com. While you're there, you'll find more podcast episodes, articles, and resources to support your hockey journey. If you're interested in taking your training to the next level, you can also schedule a consultation. We'd love to learn more about your goals and see how we can help with your off-ice development. Follow us on Instagram or YouTube at PWHTMN to join the conversation and connect with the PWHT family. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time on the PWHT podcast.